And now we're going to go to our last panelist for today, Dr. Ardian Shajkovci. Dr. Ardian is the director of the American Counterterrorism and Targeting Resilience Institute, short for ACTRI. He's worked and research experiences in the field of CT and PCVE spans over a decade, having worked in Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Western Europe, the Balkans, Kenya, Central Asia, and Somalia, to mention a few. He obtained his master's in public policy and administration from Northwestern University and earned his doctorate in public policy and administration with a focus on Homeland Security policy from Walden University. Mr. Ardian, stage is yours.
Thank you, Mohammed. On behalf of ACTRI, I'd like to express again our gratitude for taking the time to be a part of this panel and important discussion. Given the time constraints, I'm going to try to cut down my time today, try to make it less than a minute so we can give opportunity to Q&A session. Nevertheless, I'm very happy to say that I've got to learn a thing or two about human neurobiology and social ecology as well. So I really appreciate Dr. Hellis for that a very insightful introduction. So drawing from our recent research in the Balkans, my focus again will be to give a very brief overview, highlight recent key trends on some of the topics discussed, potentially complement some of the points raised by Prosecutor Dema and Dr. Hellis, among others as well. So as Prosecutor Dema pointed out, prosecution remains a critical component of the repatriation process in the Balkans, but the Balkans have placed a greater emphasis on the rehabilitation, reintegration of these individuals as well. As Prosecutor Dema highlighted, women that were repatriated did not readily, or I should say systematically, endure in the interrogation prosecutions compared to their male counterparts. They were placed under house arrest and eventually indicted on terrorism-related charges. The children, which is important as a key point for our discussion, are viewed as victims, which calls for more intense rehabilitation to address trauma and issues of alienation, as pointed out by Dr. Ellis as well. So in speaking with PCV professionals on the ground, as active repatriation becomes more widely embraced, practitioners and government officials hope that it will create a cascading effect and trickle down to other countries, not only in the region, specifically in the Balkans, but also beyond, to solve the potential threat of foreign terrorist fighters and the repatriation and move their discussion in a more consistent and cohesive manner. Very briefly, in advancing R&R measures, practitioners seem to want to strike a right balance in the way of identifying unique psychological traits of each individuals. In other words, avoiding too much focus on ideology and religion. While they view that as important, they believe that looking into unique psychological traits as well as offering employment opportunities to ensure smooth and social transition and integration is key to addressing the issue. In some cases, government and psychologists believe that they have recognized a spousal agency in treating extremism. Women, in some cases, who continue to exhibit violent extremist tendencies following the return, in some cases more so than their spouses, are given special attention by directly appealing to their desire for agency and action in their families and communities. So the key identified by the practitioners is to find the right venue for such women to basically channel their risky behavior and invite explorations of what are referred to as constructive outcomes on their end. Lastly, about the children, Dr. Ellis pointed out great examples of what could be done. As pointed out, a significant number of children have been repatriated from conflict zones. Nevertheless, many remain with little to no formal education in these camps and are vulnerable to abuse and religious and other indoctrinations. For those of us who have had a chance to travel and spend some time in these camps, it's not easy. It's very easy to deduce that children may easily roam from one section to the other of the camp, potentially also leading to this cross-pollination of extremist ideas across the camp. Concerns are also being raised that children continue to be exploited in some cases by their own mothers. For example, countries often fail to locate children inside the camps. This despite intelligence and the Syrian Democrats, SDF records suggesting their whereabouts in the camps. So in other words, mothers often hide their children in hopes of maximizing the prospect of their return or repatriation. present are also claim that children are being sent off or being groomed into serving ISIS and other jihadi and other groups. While such contentions may not necessarily hold true, the risk and prospect for such scenario is there implausible. And this is something that's my personal opinion as well. Lastly, authorities believe in the appeal of collective mass repatriation, but also stress difficulties in locating and identifying children in some cases due to lack of registry or overcrowded conditions in the camps. With this, I would conclude my presentation, and I look forward to the discussion.